Not a bad backdrop for a chat. And I think today's chat will be on going with the flow. How appropriate. See if I can get that in the background. So, hopefully you can hear me. But yeah, I kind of wanted to do a chat on going with the flow. Now, sometimes people might interpret that as in like just have no worries, no concerns. Like if you've got issues, just go with the flow, man. Like it's no big deal. And in some cases, that can be quite true. The more we get hung up on things, the more we get caught. It's like if this waterfall had a blockage at the top, it would cease to flow. It would cease to fall. But there are some things in life where the direction in which we're flowing is not serving us or serving those around us. And similar to if you're a captain of the boat, is directing the flow of your life. You've got a rudder on the boat, so directing your flow in the direction of what you want. You're still going with the flow of life, just more in a more appealing direction that means more to you. I mean, it will probably all end up in the ocean anyway, in some end location. So no matter the direction in which you flow, it's going to have an end point. There's no beginning without an end. And rather than sort of like, well, you need not to like get so caught up on things and that, I think in some ways it's knowing yourself and knowing what direction of what you want to flow with. There are people that go against the stream. There are people that go with the stream and end up on the banks. There's people that might get caught up in whirlpools that just go round and round in circles. And in that case, they would be going with the flow. It's just a circular flow. So it's not actually going in a forward direction. And really, at the end of the day, it's directing what you think is in your best direction, your best flow to actually go with. So sometimes it's not so much, it's like, well, you don't need to get so caught up on this or that, because that's that person's direction in life that they're saying that you don't need to get caught up in, and that it's how they're directing the flow of their life. Doesn't mean that it has to be the same direction in what you direct your life. But when we do go with the flow, life becomes a little bit more easier. It becomes a little bit more effortless. But what is effortless to one person may be considered great effort to other people. So that rock, little cliff behind me, is what I actually use to scale down to get to this location. It ends sort of down that way. It continues to go. Now, there might be another way around there that might be a bit easier, but I chose the most direct route down that very slippery rock side. So if I did not have confidence in my ability, I wouldn't be able to get down there. And here I ended up with a great little backdrop. So knowing the capacity of my own ability to get through there, and once again, life might throw a few curveballs of like, well, you might know your capacity, but here's a slippery rock you weren't anticipating for, and I'll go a little bit quicker down that rock place. I'll be going with the flow a little bit more quicker than I intended. But what is considered hard or an effort for some people might be effortless for other people. So it's finding what's effortless for you and what is a direction that you like to flow in, which may not align with the same direction of what someone else is flowing in. But once again, it all ends up in the same location anyway. It's just how much struggle, how much suffering that you want to put in, how much worry and concern about falling down a cliff to actually get to the end location that impedes your life, that impedes, once again, putting a rock in the way of the flow. With EFT tapping, we're actually blocking a lot of these subconscious fears that stops us from either going down a cliff or doing what we want in life. So when we clear those blocks, we have a lot more natural rather than having to focus or force or pursue. Just a natural second nature ability to go with that flow, because we're more confident in our ability. It becomes a second nature, and anything that's second nature, we don't have to force. There is no effort. It becomes a flowing between my ability to talk and the ability to receive the words in your ears. You don't have to really focus on listening to what I'm saying, unless the waterfall's got something to say for that. But even to focus, we normally constrict our bodies, which, if we're constricting, is limiting that flow. So it's just being naturally confident, naturally relaxed in your own ability for it to be able to flow. If there is something that you're good at in life, and something that you might not perceive as you're good at, but other people might perceive you're good at, normally it just comes effortlessly. It's an effortless action. It flows naturally. That's because you're just doing that because it's a normal behavior to you. So going with that flow is finding what works for you, finding what is second nature for you. And sometimes it means clearing a few dams, a few blocks that get in the way of that natural flowing. Similar, once again, with this waterfall. If there was a big blockage, then it wouldn't fall. It's the water falling, it's continuing to fall. It's doing it effortlessly. It's not having to focus its conscious attention or have to pursue the water for it to fall. It's just doing it naturally. And how it falls is in a natural pattern to itself. So being able to find what works for you sometimes means finding yourself, and not the self that is in relation to others or what other people want, because they're all doing it in what's their best interest and what they know, which works for them but doesn't work for you. So in anything in life, it's finding what works for you. And of course there's going to be always someone that, if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for them, or is in a poor comparison to them, then they'll want to redirect your flow. So sometimes it's just keeping a constant flow of what you know, and what you know will change over time. Like this water will wear away this rock, this crevice. That'll change over time. Water will find its way. So it's kind of like yourself finding its way, and knowing that your course, your direction will change over time, and just being able to be flexible with that. And if other people want to go, well, that person changed their direction in life, sort of thing, it's also knowing that that's going to affect them as well. Their direction in life is going to change. It's inevitable. We all come to an end to the river at some point. So knowing that how you conduct your life, similar to if I was to be quiet for a while, is the harmony of the sound around me. It's naturally doing it. It knows how to create the sound of a waterfall. And similar with how we've got many different biorhythms in our body, our thought patterns and everything like that, sleep patterns, similar to a conductor of a symphony orchestra, is learning how to conduct your emotions to be a little bit more in harmony with oneself and go with the flow with everything that is harmony. Normally hasn't got a dis-ease or a disbalance. It does things effortlessly once again. So it's finding once again what creates your harmony, what goes with the flow for yourself, which will always be in a comparison different to someone else. And these things will take time and practice, and everything that takes time and practice becomes a belief system. And what you believe will always be true to yourself. So knowing that other people's beliefs might not align with your beliefs, but it doesn't mean that it's incorrect, it's just what works for you. So it's finding how to harmoniously not only go along with yourself, but with other people as well. Because at the end of the day, it's like, it's just something that creates a fluidity in one's life. rather than a resistance to. Because anything you push against creates a resistance. So the more you push against something, the bigger the build-up of that will become. So learning how to flow around sometimes the obstacles in life that is presented to you, to go with the flow. And these can come in people, life situations. When it comes to the emotional resilience, to be able to go with that flow, to flow around the obstacles. And with everything, either the obstacle itself becomes worn down and goes its separate way, or dissolves and becomes part of the flow itself. So yeah, I guess at the end of the day, going with the flow is finding yourself, finding what works for you, and makes life a little bit more effortless, and finding pleasurable suffering that makes you feel good. And what I mean by that is not suffering as in pain, but suffering towards something that you want to work towards, what you're flowing towards, because everything involves effort. Even for the water to fall is a downward action. It's a water falling. It's falling towards a fall. So finding the pleasurable suffering of what you want to work your way towards. A simple metaphor is if you want to go to the gym, you actually have to put in the effort to get the results. So you might not enjoy at sometimes the work, but it's working towards what you want, your end goal. And anything that you want is hopefully a pleasurable pursuit. So finding that will actually make your life a little bit more meaningful, a little bit more pleasurable, rather than pursuing something that kills you on the inside. So yeah. So I'm Dion from Eflowtion Support Services. Probably a little bit on that name as well. Eflowtion, energy in motion, emotion, flow states, Eflowtion. E being online, Tapping. EFT is actually in Eflowtion. There's T in there. It all blends together. And when it all blends together, it naturally goes with the flow. So I'm Dion from Eflowtion Support Services, and I'll end with a little bit of waterfall.